Escalation in President Trump's showdown with the four progressive congresswomen known as the Squad as their Twitter battle continues to blow up social media. Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tweeted this last night. You all should end this charade and accept that this racist president wants every black, brown person deported and Muslims banned. His immigration policies say this much. The president tweeted this morning, I don't believe the four congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for their horrible, hateful things that they've said. They are destroying the Democrat Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation.
It's an interesting thing. Psychologists will tell you this. If a person thinks that you don't like them or that you hate them, then everything you say they will interpret in that light. And if they think you love them, everything you say they will interpret in that light. And it can be exactly the same thing. You know, we need to get away from all of this parsing of words and analysis. And really, let's talk about the actual problems that we have and how we would solve them. I think we'd be far ahead in the game. And I really think that's what the American people...
Hey everyone, welcome back to Congress Flash. Today we break down what just happened between President Trump and the Squad is blowing up the internet. Again. The tweets, the accusations, the political fallout, it's all boiling over. And this time, Ilhan Omar is at the center of it. She accused the former president of wanting to deport every black and brown person and ban all Muslims. That's not a small claim. It's explosive, but the backlash was just as loud. Trump fired back with a statement that's setting off headlines coast to coast. Today, I'm breaking it all down into hard-hitting bullet points that get straight to the truth. No fluff, no spin. Let's start with the spark. Omar took to Twitter.
Ben Carson is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and he joins me right now. And Mr. Secretary, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
What
Maria.
a fight. Oh, my goodness. So, look, you're an African-American successful business person. You're the Secretary of HUD. You work for President Trump. Is he racist?
He is not racist at all. You know, the first time I met him, it was before we got into politics, was down at Mar-a-Lago. And he and I were talking, and someone came up to him and said, Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here. And he said, yeah, but this is Ben Carson. You know, that's the kind of person he is. and you may remember when we were running for president at one of the debates, and I couldn't hear my name announced, so I was standing there. Everybody else gleefully walked past me, but Trump stood right next to me until they straightened it out. You know, that's the kind of person that he is. You know, he lived in New York. Jesse Jackson gave him an award for the incredible things that he had done in the African-American community. I have never seen anything that even resembles racism. And look at the policies that have been done. And look at the people who have been helped. You know, black unemployment at the lowest level ever. Same thing for Hispanics. You look at the fact that he has engaged so much in second chance for people, you know, things that other people talked about, but he has done. You know, opportunity zones where people who've made enormous amounts of money have the opportunity to take unrealized capital gains and to plow them into the areas of the country that have traditionally been neglected. You know, it's what's been done. It's not what's been said or how it's been interpreted and hashed over and over in the media.
But Secretary, look at this tweet that Ilhan Omar has put out. I mean, this is an elected congresswoman, an elected position that says that, you know, the president wants every black and brown person deported, every Muslim banned. How is this possible that an elected official can get away with saying this as if this is fact?
Well, you know, there is a radical element. I don't want to talk about a specific congressperson because of the Hatch Act, but, you know, there is a radical element that has been introduced into our legislative body that seems to be intent on pushing their ideology. And they have an accomplice in the media in doing so. And this is very detrimental to our country. You know, I think, you know, we should be having a conversation with the media, and they should be having a conversation themselves, asking themselves, why is it that the press is the only business that has been protected by our Constitution. And the reason is because they were supposed to disseminate objectively to the people of America real information upon which they could make decisions. They were not supposed to try to manipulate people. So, you know, there are the radical element that is taking advantage of the ideological bent of the media, and it's unfair to the people. But as Thomas Jefferson said, the people will come through. The people will be smart enough to figure this out. I hope that's true.
Omar took to Twitter accusing Trump of racism, claiming he wants every person of color deported and every Muslim banned. Whether you agree or not, that kind of language ramps up division fast. Trump didn't hold back either. He shot back saying, "The squad," in his words, "hates America," and demanded an apology. Not just to the country, but to Israel too. He accused them of trying to destroy the Democrat Party and said they're weak and insecure people. This isn't just political theater anymore. It's a culture war playing out in real time on social media. Then,
there you have it, the president wrapping up a conversation with reporters on the White House lawn right now due to rain, but he did go on about the political fight that's happening between him and his tweets over the weekend and the 4 congressional females, also known as the Squad. So we got to bring in some of the experts, one of them being joining us right now, the Housing and Urban Development Secretary, Ben Carson. So, Mr. Secretary, we just heard him speak now, but overall we know that the House did condemn his comments as racist. Do you think the president's tweets were racist?
Not at all. You know, I've known the president for some time, and I've never seen any indication of that whatsoever. You know, he lived in New York for a long time. Jesse Jackson gave him an award for the work that he's done in the black community. I remember the very first time I met the president at Mar-a-Lago before we were into the political arena. And someone came up to him and said, they said, "Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here." And he said, "Yeah, but this is Ben Carson." I mean, that's the kind of person that he is, and that's the kind of person I've always known him to be. You know, his interest is in everybody doing well, and the policies are such that a rising tide floats all boats. And you can see that. The manifestation is so clear, you know, in terms of the unemployment rate, particularly for minorities.
Yeah, but that's not what we were talking about. We're talking about whether his tweets were racist or not. I understand the policies are great and the economy is doing well, but this is a question of racism.
Yeah, well, the place where that intersects is because he is spending so much time and energy with policies that elevate the very people that they are claiming that he is against. That's my point.
Secretary Carson, thank you very much for joining us. Question for you. Do you think that these 4 women, these young women in Congress, the so-called Squad, do they represent minority thinking, or in particular, do they represent the view that a lot of people in the African-American community have of President Trump? Or is that community open to the idea that his policies, higher wages, the things that are happening economically that are good for African Americans are more important than these tweets and these sort of battles that he gets in?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right in that it's the impact. It's what's actually happening. It's much more important than the arguments that we get into when we try to parse every word and try to interpret them. You know, it's an interesting...
Then came a voice that doesn't always get the spotlight. Former HUD Secretary Ben Carson. Carson stepped in to defend Trump, flat out saying the president is not racist. And this wasn't just politics. This was personal. Carson shared stories, moments where Trump showed him real respect, even preferring to spend time with him over celebrities. These aren't viral clips or media spins. These are moments Carson says show Trump's true character. And Carson didn't stop there. He brought receipts, pointing to Trump's record on the economy, particularly for Black and Hispanic communities. Record low unemployment, opportunity zones, and the Second Chance Act. Policies that...
Psychologists will tell you this. If a person thinks that you don't like them or that you hate them, then everything you say they will interpret in that light. And if they think you love them, everything you say they will interpret in that light. And it can be exactly the same thing. You know, we need to get away from all of this parsing of words and analysis. And really, let's talk about the actual problems that we have and how we would solve them, I think we'd be far ahead in the game. And I really think that's what the American people want to hear, and that's what the minorities want to hear. That's what I've heard from them. I was with a minority this weekend who said, I really am impressed with the things that this administration is doing. But they said, I won't say that out loud, and I won't say that to people because I don't want to be ostracized and have my family intact. But I think that might not be such a rare opinion.
Secretary Carson, what does that mean for the ballot box as we head into 2020? Because an obvious line has been drawn. Does it help, hurt either sides?
Repeat that again, please.
The ballot box for 2020, the presidential race, with this back and forth across racial lines, telling minorities, according to some liberal commentators, to go back to where they came from. You know, some would say that that might hurt the Republican Party.
You know, again, you know, there's going to be all kinds of conversations about all kinds of things. And, you know, it's going to come from both sides. Did I wish that that weren't going on? Absolutely. You know, it kind of reminds me of third grade. Apologies to the third graders. But, you know, we have so many more important things to deal with. And I think it would be extraordinarily helpful if we just begin to focus on those things that are important.
Policies that,
all right, folks,
whether you like Trump or not, had measurable impact. Here's where things get even deeper. Carson and the host both blasted the mainstream media for what they see as clear bias, claiming the press has become a mouthpiece for a radical agenda, pushing narratives instead of facts. They said Ilhan Omar's comments weren't just wrong, they were dangerous, not just political shots, but attempts to rewrite history and divide the country. The argument? That the media elevates this division because unity threatens their influence, and the left needs division to survive. It's a strong claim. But here's the question. Are people tuning out the noise and tuning into results? By the way, if you're still with me and want more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. I'm breaking down the noise so you can get the truth without the spin. Carson made another point that hit home. And honestly, it's worth sitting with. He said we've become obsessed with parsing words instead of solving problems, that some people now interpret everything based on whether they think someone likes or hates them, not based on what's actually being said or done. And that's where the whole conversation seems to be stuck. In emotion, not action. He even said he meets people who privately support Trump's policies but are afraid to say so publicly because they don't want to be attacked or labeled. Think about that. What does that mean for 2024? What does that say about where we are as a country? So here's the truth. This isn't just about tweets. It's not just about who said what louder or harsher. It's about what kind of country we're becoming. One where narratives overpower facts and yelling drowns out results. Carson believes Americans will figure it out, that people are smarter than the media gives them credit for. That truth, not outrage, will win. So who do you believe? A neurosurgeon who's lived the American dream and worked inside the Trump administration? Or a congresswoman building a brand on division and controversy? Let me know in the comments. If you're standing for truth, if you're tired of the spin, drop a USA Strong in the comments and share this video. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Because this isn't just about politics, it's about where we go from here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.